You miss 90% what's happening in front of you. But don't worry, most photographers do. The good news, with a few simple tweaks, you'll start seeing and capturing moments you never knew were there. Just watch this video and we'll fix the problem. Hi, it's Peter here, and let's get right into the business. The first one is be immersed in the moment. Everything starts with being immersed, being present when you're photographing. Trying to get that flow state so that you don't have anything else in your mind. Everything that you do is focused on getting those images. And that is a crucial start if you want to get better photographs while photograph on the streets. That is really so crucial that without being immersed in the moment, you won't get anything, because you will be thinking all other stuff and everything is distracting. Just concentrate on the photography. And sometimes it's really hard to start. And I've said many times on this channel and in different videos that just start photographing. Photograph whatever you see and go from that. And once you get a few keepers, you will get into that so-called flow state where everything else is forgotten and the only thing you see are the photographs in front of you. That's a really important thing, and it needs sometimes a little bit of practice. For myself, for example, I'm a little slow starter. When I go out and photograph, I might wander about an hour without getting any keepers. But once I get going, then I can go forever. Well, once I get into the flow, and that's really important. And if you are one of those, don't give up too quickly. Just keep on going. It'll get there. I promise. And then the second one is the importance of intuition and instinct. And this is really another very important thing, is to trust your instinct. I do have a video about instinct over there when I was talking about how hard street photography is. And you just need to be quick when you see something. And when you start seeing things, then just use your instinct and intuition to photograph. And the intuition is about pre-visualizing the images. You might see someone in the crowd and people walking, and you see someone interesting. Just keep an eye on that particular person and see if something interesting happens. And sometimes just a photograph of an interesting looking person can tell a really compelling story about something. Like I have this what I call the street fashion in Helsinki, which you can watch from my Instagram, where I've been posting those images. That was from my video when I did when I did a video about the OM System OM3 camera. I used that for that little project that I made. But that's something that I will continue, because it's really interesting to see different styles and different types of people on the streets. This intuition and instinct can, of course, be used for something else. You might see an interesting place in front of you, and then you might use the fishing technique and wait that something happens there. So you have a kind of an instinct that this is a great place, that something might happen. Or maybe it's a place where in a few minutes there will be an interesting light, and go check out that place and see if something happens there. And I think that's a second important thing in the art of observation, and learning how to observe your surroundings. And then this comes to the third one, which is avoid hesitation. That's a big mistake. If you start hesitating, you start looking at the things without photographing. But I know that happens to all of us. Sometimes I'm looking at something and then I realize that, hey, wait a minute, there's a photograph and I missed it because I was kind of hesitating or waiting for something else to happen. Just press the shutter button and hope for the best. That's sometimes the best way. And if without that, you won't get the image. So hesitation is one big, I wouldn't say a problem, but a big thing that why we miss so many photographs. Just press the shutter and worry about everything else less. If the composition isn't just perfect, just don't worry. You might fix it in post, which is of course not the first thing you have in your mind when you're photographing. It's something that you can do if you feel that you can't get those perfect compositions right there because you're hesitating. Don't. You can always crop it later if that's the case. But of course, once you get more experienced and you will get the composition spot on right when you photograph. But don't worry if you don't get it right away. I crop my images quite a bit just because of that, because I rather take the photograph and think about later than just, overthink the composition or the whole situation. Because when you're having a digital camera, if you're using a digital, it doesn't cost you that much to take. If you take 100 photographs or 1,000, it doesn't, of course, it takes more time to go through the 1,000. I'm not saying that you should use burst mode or anything like that, but, just photograph and don't hesitate. You will get a lot more keepers. And that also is combined with the instinct and the being in the moment, and just, fire away and see what comes out. Usually you might even get images that you didn't really see happening. That has happened to me sometimes, that afterwards I come back and see that, hey, wait a minute, I did get it, even though I did not know even that happened, because I wasn't hesitating. But before we continue, let's talk about Urban Street Narratives workshop. Have you ever dreamed of having a dedicated week for photography with 23 other photographers and 3 instructors? But now you have a chance. Join me, Matti Solanto, and Robin Wong, and 23 other photographers in Kuala Lumpur on March 30th for 5 days. So it'll end from Monday till Friday, and Friday will be the April 3rd. We will conduct a workshop about urban street narratives. So it's all about urban photography, street photography, urban landscape. The whole point is for you to make a preferably five image series with help of me, Matti, and Robin, and we will give you assignments every day which are tailored for your story. So everybody will get a slightly different assignment for each day, and we will be there helping you to achieve a great urban street narrative during that week in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. But I will put a link in the description, and you can find all the information about our workshop from there. And, sign up. The spots are going fast, so now is your time to meet us also, if that's something that you like. But yeah, link in the description, and let's continue with the video. And then one thing is the beauty of the unconventional and in the mundane. And this is also a big thing where people might hesitate, is that we think that we need to be photographing something really grand or something really vast things happening, and we overlook the unconventional and mundane, especially the mundane. The simplest thing on the streets can be a great photograph. And of course, we have to always think that when we're photographing on the street, in a way, it's also a document that might not be very interesting right now, but it could be really interesting in, let's say, 20 years, 15 years, 5 years, even a year, because urban landscape and urban surroundings are changing so much. The fashion is changing so much. The stores are changing. The colors of cars, color of clothes, color of transportation, and buses and trams, and that they might change in the course of years and look totally different. And if you live in the parts where you have different seasons, like we have here in Helsinki, it's totally different looking during a snowstorm, rain, or sunny weather during the summer. Colorful leaves and the trees and stuff like that. So don't underestimate the mundane things. Every simple thing, trash cans, coffee mugs, cars, storefronts, and just photograph those and pick a project from one of those mundane things. It's also a good way to start your journey as a street photographer, is to pick a small project. And I've talked this also quite a bit. So if this has been something useful for you and you haven't subscribed to my channel, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. And the fifth one is street photography thrives on unpredictable. This is the most exciting thing about street photography. It is that it is unpredictable. Anything can happen and something can ruin your photographs. But then if you start thinking about your photograph, that is it ruined because someone photobombed it, or someone looked into the wrong direction that you thought, or someone stepped into the background and covered something, or somebody sticks an arm out and, ruins, basically photobombed, as I said, the image. But sometimes those mistakes and those unpredictable things are the things that make the image a lot better. So praise the mistakes, and I do have a video about that too. So don't delete images that you think that are ruined, because that little mistake in the image might make it look a lot better and make the image more compelling and give some strange story or twist the story. Because if an image makes us stop as a viewer, like I'm a viewer of your photograph, and it makes me stop and see and think about the image, it may be raising some questions, and it most likely the reason is that it is because of the small mistake there is, or we can call it like mistake in the image. So don't underestimate the unpredictable things, and don't be sorry if someone ruins your photograph. It may actually lift up your photograph. And then number 6, look for connections and relationships. This is something that I already talked a little bit about. Urban surroundings is full of connections and relationships. People talk to each other, people pass each other, and there are some relationship. And then you might make photographs that we start thinking about what is the relationship between these people, or is there anything? And that's like I was saying about the mistakes. And that's another thing to add a layer to it, is to give a story that we might not have in mind, or you might not have in mind, but we build a story in our head, the viewer, I mean. And that can also make the image a lot more interesting. And then what I really usually like to do is to try to get something like the relationship between something that's in the city. I've used graffitis quite a bit and murals, and see if someone or something is happening in front of it that kind of connects to the relationship, or connects with the mural or the graffiti and makes a relationship. And I think that's something that you could also look advertisement is, or tags or texts or other people and color contrast stuff. And there is so many things that you can consider to be a relationship or a connection between two elements or two persons inside an image. And it's the possibilities are endless in a city. And then the 7th one, but before that, I want to remind you that I will have an extra tip after tip number 7, which is be patient but ready. And this is something that I always try to emphasize to everybody, that you need to be patient and don't rush into the scene too fast. But when something happens, then you need to be ready and you need to be fast. So at the same time, street photography is a slow way of making photographs, observing, standing around in the corners, maybe go to a coffee shop and look what happens outside the window. I always, when I go to have a cup of coffee, I try to get a window seat and have a camera ready to photograph through the glass, because photographing through glass is always interesting. And if you want to support my coffee breaks, I will put a link in the description so you can buy me a coffee. So be patient, be ready, and be fast. But remember, so street photography is slow photography until it becomes fast. And the fast becomes when something happens. You need to be ready and don't hesitate, like I talked before. And this video was actually inspired by my photography book that it will be published in August. But I will put a link in the description to my book, From Snapshots to Stories. You can read more about it clicking the link. And then the extra tip, which goes beyond this. We'll be talking about what you see in front of you. But one thing, if you want to advance your skills, is to train your peripheral vision. What it means is that start to learn to see on the sides, because sometimes you want to be invisible. You don't want them to notice that you're looking. And that is something you need to practice, because we all have the angle of view of our vision. And unfortunately, when we get older, it gets narrower and we need to turn our head if we want to see something on the side. But start to learn to sense movement and colors and stuff on the side, if that's possible. I believe that you can practice that, and also have your hearing alert, so that you hear something's happening on the side here. Now you can see on over there, and that is something that you could practice. But this is, of course, next level. It's not very easy, and that is something that I've been trying to practice to make it, or give me more possibilities to photograph, so that I'm looking straight on, but actually I'm looking what's happening here on the side, which have given me quite a few images. And that's is something that I've been practicing for the last 2 or 3 years, and still can't see everything. But once you start sensing and seeing what's happening around you in the sides and not in front of you, you will get even more keepers, because then you can be, first patient, you're looking over there, and then quickly turn and make the image. And then you will be mostly invisible. People won't notice you, but you have to be ready. And of course, if you move too sudden, people might notice you. But, subtle movements, being ready, you will start getting even more keepers. I will put a link to every video in the description that I was talking about, and also the urban street narratives, which is something that if you want to take a look at the video, it's right there when I was talking about more information about it. But hey, thanks for watching, and bye for now.